What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Bullpen. I'm stoked for this episode of The Bullpen. One, because my guest today is a guest that you're all very familiar with because he's a good friend of mine. I post about his shit all the time. So if you follow me, then you know who this dude is, right? And even if you don't follow me and you're just happen to listen to this for the first time, you still probably know who this dude is because he's making a massive impact in this country and across the world. What he's doing has actually become international. That's something super important that I actually want to talk to you about is how much what you've done has gone international recently, especially not just nationally recognized, right? So those of you who don't know, we're talking about the founder of an internationally recognized brand, a movement for the Patriot gear, and honestly, just the Patriot movement in this country. And for those of you who don't maybe even know, one of the most badass entrepreneurs you're ever going to talk to. This dude was one of the top performers in door-to-door sales, one of the hardest industries you're ever going to make it in, and he was sought after all over the country to coach sales teams and honestly then transition to even coaching marketing teams. And you see that now because he's not only been a badass with direct sales, right? Also marketing, because you were running marketing campaigns. You were coaching companies across this country on marketing. And if you don't believe how good it is, we'll just look at what he's done with his own marketing, his own community. Ian Wendt, thanks for coming on, brother.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
It's always good to have you on, man.
Good to see you, man.
So what's funny is you're actually the first repeat guest in the bullpen history.
Yeah, dude. So, I was the guinea pig.
He was the guinea pig. Go back and watch our first episode. The lighting wasn't quite where we wanted it to be and all this stuff, but
atmosphere was a little different.
It was a little bit different.
It was a little different, yeah. We
were just starting, and you're a good friend of mine. I'm grateful you came down. But you know what?
Man.
You got a message, man. You've got a message. What you do, is important, right? And important is not even the right word. It's urgent.
Yeah.
I like the word urgent because, that's why I'm actually glad to have you back on. I think we're gonna have multiple episodes where you're gonna come back on the bullpen because I like talking to you about this shit that's going on because you keep it real, man.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people follow you, right? That's one of the reasons why a lot of people respect you so much is because of how honestly fearless you've been in speaking up and speaking out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a little bit of that. I also think it's a little bit of the fact that, there's so many polarizing viewpoints right now. Yeah. If you consider the social media, the mainstream media, all this, like, I always say the same thing. I always say that the mainstream media is the left's, it's like where they get all their information and where they're manipulated. But then honestly, social media has become the right's, place where they're manipulated.
That's fascinating because most people would say social media, big tech, big Zuck or whatever, Thanos, whatever we call them, or left,
I don't even know,
yeah, right.
I don't even know. But that's the thing. It's like, I think one thing that I've always tried to do is stay as much as I can in the middle. Like, obviously I lean farther right than left.
Sure.
Just because of different viewpoints and beliefs that I have and everything, but I do try my hardest to see both sides of the aisle, and I genuinely reach out to people who may not agree with me, and ask them to have conversations, and I think that people like the fact that I try to stay as balanced as I can, while also being honest about things. Like, dude, there were a lot of accounts that it took a lot for them to even call out Trump on some of the things. Like, some of those far-right accounts that are so pro-Trump for so long.
And they want to stay that way.
Exactly, because that's their brand or whatever, right? Well, my brand isn't far-right Trump conservative. It's just pro-freedom, constitutionalist, American. Like, I don't care what race, what religion, what sex or whatever that you are, or what political affiliation. If you love America and you love our people and you want us to be free and thrive, and like you're willing to speak up about that, then dude, you're part of my tribe. And that's the thing. I think that's why people gravitate towards me, is because I'm not afraid to call out hypocrisy on both sides, and I think that's something that we need to get back to.
We do.
Badly.
Your brand, being a patriot, is as dead center as you could be.
Really?
This is super important. What you're saying is crucial.
Yeah.
Everyone listening, you need to listen up to this. Being a patriot, believing in patriotism, believing in the Constitution of the United States and America is the middle ground
Yeah.
That's not right wing.
No.
That is middle ground. And what it means is I believe in your freedom and I believe in what your right to speak as a left or right. And honestly, I agree with you. I'm pissed off at the right.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of the bullshit from the right, and all this stuff, because you know what? We could talk about a lot of things when it comes to the coronavirus or all this bullshit. Guess, motherfuckers, Trump was the one who was in office when coronavirus and the vaccines were getting pushed.
He pushed hard on them.
He pushed hard on these vaccines. He was totally okay with the shutdowns for coronavirus. And they're honest, we go through a lot of things. And don't even go just with Trump. What about all these other Republicans who have been in office? I believe the only reason we have problems is because people allow it to happen. It's their fault just as much as the left.
Well, I think I'm positive I said this on the last one too, but it's exactly what patriotism is all about. It's not partisan. It's not exclusive. Yeah. It's not about division.
No.
It's about unity.
Yes.
Patriotism is about uniting people who don't agree on everything, but they do agree on one thing, which is we don't want to be ruled. We want to be free. That's what this country started on.
Amen.
That's why there's people that are in the service right now giving their lives and literally paying the ultimate sacrifice, them and their families and their friends, so that you and I can be sitting here in a comfy chair doing a podcast talking about it. Guess what? Those people are not all conservative. They're not all liberal. They're from every side of the aisle. And they probably don't agree on everything that we agree on. But the fact is they do agree on one thing, which is we need to stay free. We need to defend freedom, and we need to fight at all costs to make sure that we can continue to live a free life and that our children's children can. And, I always say this, it's like you either stand up right now and you talk about and you fight for freedom, or I promise you're going to be telling your kids what it was like to be truly free.
Yes.
And that is a scary, scary thing. But going back, talking about, the politicians and the right and Trump and all this, it's like, dude, I truly believe that even the vaccine thing, like that wasn't even as much as people have made it. I believe that's just another distraction. It's just another huge distraction that is meant to divide us as a people. There's a reason why they say united we stand, divided we fall.
Yes.
Because that's how it works. And if you don't believe that our enemies have been watching us literally for the past 10 plus years or more,
probably playing on to this.
More. Yeah. And seeing us continuing to divide ourselves, and not only seeing us doing it, but they've been helping. They trust me when I tell you, like there have been operations in the back end that are making sure that America is dividing itself from within. That is why we are so weak right now. I mean, sure, our leadership is a freaking garbage fire. Like it's terrible. And I don't think there's been this bad of an F up for who knows how long. Ryan Mickler actually said something today. He posted, he said, I can't tell you how many people were telling me, the president doesn't actually, whoever's the president of the country doesn't actually affect my life that much.
Yes.
And he's like, how do you feel now? And then he's like, granted, I got to give you a little bit of credit because the truth is we've never seen this bad of an F up. Like Joe Biden.
I mean, it's almost hard to even call it an F up. It feels planned, bro. It feels planned in a way. Sure. It feels planned in a way of putting someone in there who is complete puppeteer.
No lies there.
I mean, it's like I would almost like be a little more upset at the president if I could be. He doesn't do anything. He's not even there, bro.
He doesn't even know where he is.
He doesn't know where the fuck he is. He's such a puppet. And I believe all politicians are puppets. If you're listening to your politician, yes, I believe you're a puppet. Because you know what? I think we need new politicians in there who aren't, bought off by somebody. If I look at all these politicians, here's actually a good indicator. You know how many of them have created a lot of fucking wealth? I'm like, if you go into politics and you make a lot of money, a lot of times that comes out as tyranny in some form or fashion.
You know what's interesting is I just barely did this highlight on my page. I don't know if you watched it yet, but
which one?
Yeah, which one? I did. It's like a Bradley thing. Which one?
Which one?
What it do? No, what it is. That's what he said.
That's what he says. Yeah.
No, so it was Northwoods. I did a highlight on Operation Northwoods, and it actually blew my mind how many people not only didn't know what it was about, but didn't even know it happened. And the thing about, you talked about the right wing or any politicians in general, like standing to gain and profit. Dude, the war machine is by far one of the most profitable entities of this entire world. And if people only understood what that does for politicians, especially politicians that are under fire right before the primaries, or that have arguably been involved with crimes against humanity.
Yep.
If people only understood what the war machine does to cover that up, and then also let these people profit for years and years and years and years to come, and how many times it's been done, then they might actually have an idea of what's really going on right now overseas.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, everybody that says, oh, it's so far away, I don't need to worry about this. I don't know if most people know this, but you can literally see Russia from a part of Alaska.
Yeah.
Like, it's that close.
Yeah.
Russia is not far away. The problem is you're always looking at a map and it looks like Russia's on the other end of the world.
Right.
Well, for those of you guys that think the world is flat, it's round. And if you look at the other side, you can actually see that Russia and America are extremely close to each other.
Basically touching.
Like, literally a stone's throw away from I don't even know what point it is, but one point of Alaska.
If Russia comes here, they ain't coming through the Europe way.
No.
They're coming.
No. but it's not even coming here. Like, dude, there's all kinds of things. But my point is, if people understood how many times the American people have been, or the world itself has been manipulated to go to war in order to cover up truth, cover up crimes, and then allow these evil, corrupt politicians and frankly oligarchies to freaking profit.
Oligarchies is very fascinating.
That's the truth, man. And that's what's happening right now. You have all these people who have been involved in something that is arguably one of the biggest crimes against humanity in history for the last 2 years that are now profiting off of this war on both sides, by the way. We're funding it on both sides. And then on top of that, all of a sudden, everything from the last 2 years just disappeared. Like, poof, gone.
Right, gone.
What happened to it?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, now the mandates for flying are what they're lifted. I think it lifted in like a week.
Oh, good.
Right?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's like, thank you so much for giving us our life back.
Oh, you know what? I heard this lady go like, because I wasn't wearing my mask. We were coming back from Mexico.
Yeah.
And they go look at me and go, you need to put your mask on. And it's just like one of those, like, it's like one of those moments you're like, you know, like, fuck you, you know? But then this lady behind me goes, you know, it's better to just comply than to fight it. And I looked at her, I go, maybe for you.
Yeah.
I'm like, good fuck. That's your mentality? Better to comply?
Well, dude, and that's the thing. That's years and years of programming and manipulation that people can't even see. And it's like, that's one of the biggest reasons I started speaking up in the first place. But I'll give you an example talking about airports and masks, okay? I feel like one of the best ways to tell where society really is in an airport, especially during the like height of the pandemic and with masks and everything. So I would always pay attention. How many people are wearing masks? How many people have those masks all up over their nose? How many people are wearing them under their nose or as a chin strap?
Right.
And how many people aren't wearing them? And dude, probably 1 out of 5 people were wearing them under their chin. And maybe like, I don't even know what percentage, but like I'd be walking through the airport and maybe me and 2 other people aren't wearing it, right?
Right.
But then the rest of the people are wearing it on their, like over their whole mouth. Let me back up. The majority of them are wearing it under their nose.
Yeah,
They're wearing it, but they're just,
partial.
It's under their nose or it's a chin strap, right?
Yeah.
There's like 1 or 2 people out of 5 that are actually wearing it over their nose, and then there's the people that just don't wear it.
Right.
What does that tell you? It tells you that the majority of the people literally are just doing it to comply.
Yes.
They don't think it works.
Yeah.
They don't believe in the science. They don't actually think it's helping anybody or benefiting anybody.
Yeah.
They don't actually care about grandma. They're just doing it because they don't want to make any rifts.
Yes.
They don't want to cause any issues.
They don't want to get in trouble.
They don't want to get in trouble.
They don't
just
want to get
want
on the no-fly list. Yeah.
And that is the reason why we are where we are.
Right.
Is because people can't see what's happening. They don't want to see what's happening. And even when they do, they're just like, I'm just going to go along with it.
Yeah.
And dude, that's why these people can get away with the things they have. And so, you know, it's just like looking at what's happening overseas right now. That's why I created that Northwoods highlight is like, bro, just to give a quick summary of Northwoods.
Yeah,
right?
no, because you're talking about this and you're saying like, I wish people, let's make them understand, like, what is Operation Northwoods?
So
what is the war machine, right?
So Operation Northwoods, this was during the Cold War, okay? This is when Fidel Castro was rising in power, right? Long story short, Fidel Castro was rising in power. Communism was on the rise all over the world. And the United States we had just gotten out of World War II, and the United States is like, this isn't going to happen.
Right.
Like, we're not going to allow
communism
a communist
is what
regime.
has started the last 2 wars.
Yeah, we're not going to let a communist regime to rise to power. JFK was president, and basically, Fidel Castro was getting so strong. But not only that, he was also starting to have really close ties with
Russia,
the Soviet Union at the time, right?
Yeah.
The USSR.
Right.
And so America was like, this isn't going to happen. We have to stop this. We basically, what they decided was, we have to make Fidel Castro either lose his influence and power, or we need to kill him.
Yep.
And so he had
what's so important is if Cuba were to really to be that close tied with USSR, the Soviet Union, that means, like, you want to talk about Alaska and Russia touching, talk about Florida and literally being a boat drive away from Canada and being able to have missiles, and how dangerous it was for Cuba to be in cahoots with Russia.
It opened us up to massive issues when it came to possible invasions, missile attacks, nuclear attacks.
Yeah. Like our national defense,
we never could have kept up with it, and we never could have been there in time, and it was just catastrophic, right? So this was right kind of as the Cold War, I believe that was the Cold War was like starting, but anyway.
This is what started the Cold War.
Yeah, this is what started. Basically, they said, hey, we can't allow this to happen, and so they said nothing is off the table.
Yeah.
So they came up with all these different ideas of how they could basically make his power diminish, or how they could literally kill him. Mm-hmm. And there was everything from, like, they were going to have somebody give him an exploding or a poisonous pen, to having one of his exes sleep with him and poison him while he was sleeping, to an exploding seashell on his favorite beach, to, I'm dead serious, bro, to things like, they even considered using estrogen, giving him an insane amount of estrogen so that he would lose his hair and his beard, because he was like this manly, like, bearded figure. Mm-hmm. And giving him tits, because they were like, dude, this will make him appear weak in the eye of the public, and he'll lose all of his power and influence.
Sure.
Literally, these things were considered, right? Obviously, none of that happened, and any of it that was attempted failed.
Yeah.
But then the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the commander at the time, I forget his name now, but anyway, he comes to the table and he says, okay, I have a more straightforward approach here. We're going to take him out. Like, we're going to take him out, but we're going to also do it by making it look like we need to go to war. We're going to convince the American public that we need to go to war with Fidel Castro and Cuba. How are we going to do that? He came up with 7 different ideas of false flag attempts on United States. So for those of you that don't know what a false flag is basically a diversion in order to distract everybody from what's really happening, right? A diversion that ends up being a violent diversion of some sort. So the ideas were, and I'll just name a few of them. The ideas were, hey, let's stage a terrorist attack in Miami. Let's have some plastic bombs put where there's going to be Cuban refugees that are coming in to seek asylum in the United States. Because at the time, there were a lot of Cubans that didn't want to be in Cuba.
Well, hey, there's still a lot of Cubans in Florida, right?
So they were trying to come. They were coming by the boatloads, right? So they're like, let's actually set some plastic bombs, like plastic explosives, blow up some of those immigrants, and make it look like Cuba did it. Or we could even sink a ship full of them, and then we'll make it look like Cuba did it. Like, this was a real thing that they put on the table in front of the president of the United States to attempt.
How do we have access to know this stuff?
Bro, just look it up. It's literally all over online. Like, use DuckDuckGo, because Google's going to censor everything, but, like, look it up on YouTube videos. This is a real thing, though. This isn't just like a conspiracy theory. You can find a Wikipedia page on this, because what I'm getting at is they eventually, he rejected it. JFK rejected all of these plans. And he fired the commander of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And so this is all public record now. Operation Northwoods is not a secret. It's real, and it's 100% on file, right? But there were other things, like they planned on pretending or making it look like a plane full of U.S. college students that were going to South America on, like, this tourist trip or whatever, would get shot out of the sky by Cuba. So they were literally planning on staging an entire plane full of college kids being downed by Cuba, right? And they had the whole thing planned out and all the different things. And I mean, dude, it was crazy. Yeah. You'd have to look it up. There's a bunch of other things that they planned. Even things like hijacking American planes and making it look like it was a Cuban terrorist, or attacking Guantanamo Bay. Okay. Tons of stuff. Sure. But anyway, point is, they came up with all these plans to basically enrage America so much and get them so riled up that they would not only support a war with Cuba, but that they would beg for it. Okay? And Anyway, JFK said no, he refused to do it, and that led one thing to another. But
so basically what we're talking about here is a propaganda marketing campaign.
Oh, 100%.
We're talking about marketing campaigns basically on how to create anger and fear to rally the people behind a war.
But not just marketing campaigns, bro. It was physical plans to create false flag events against Americans. And here's another one. They were going to blow up a boat full of Navy soldiers, Navy sailors. And they called it the Remember the Maine copycat. So Remember the Maine, the USS Maine was blown up randomly overnight full of a bunch of Navy soldiers Navy sailors during the Spanish War, right? And then that's what literally sent us into war with Spain, because they made it look like, to this day, they say it was Spain or whatever, right? Anyway, they were literally going to attack Americans or American soldiers to force the American public to demand war. And so here's the thing. Why is that all important? Like, that's a lot of information, right? Why is that important? First of all, go watch my highlight because you'll understand it better.
Yeah.
There's no way we can cover it on this. But the other thing is, it just goes to show you what our government is willing and capable of doing in order to justify going to war with another country.
Well, so that's the real question here. Is the argument that you're going to get for this, or I would get for this, anyone would give to that, is our government's not that evil. There's no way we would kill our own people. That's what I was going to ask you.
9/11.
Walk me through that then. Because to what extent do you believe that our government's willing to sacrifice its own people?
I'm from New York.
Okay.
I lived it.
Okay.
It's the main reason that I started even diving into this stuff and trying to understand what was really happening. Nothing made sense on that day. Nothing. And if you look at all the events, there's no way we can cover this in this either. So I'm going to sum it up.
As much as you can. Yeah. Let's talk.
If you look at the events leading up to 9/11 and even the events afterwards, nothing adds up. But one thing that does add up is that there was an all-out call for war against Afghanistan.
That's true. There was not a single human being who wasn't like, oh, well, I guess no, there were people against the war in Afghanistan, but we were all pretty rallied behind the idea of let's go get those fuckers, right?
But dude, if you go look at all the science that was proven about how much how hot something has to be in order to melt steel beams. If you look at how the towers actually fell, they fell like they were demolition. They fell straight, right? If you go look at Tower 7, Building 7, most people don't even know about Building 7, but Building 7 had all of the files that's basically where they kept all the information about the $3.9 billion that just disappeared from the Pentagon like 2 days before that. Literally. I mean, go look at, I don't know if I have that number exactly right, but go look up all this stuff and it's insane. None of it makes sense. The one thing that does make sense though is that somebody stood to gain from it. The people that developed the towers, to the president wanting to cover things up, to the president wanting to send us. I mean, dude, I can't say any of that because I don't know it for sure and I'm not making any accusations. But the point is, something and someone wanted us to go to war for the next 10, 12 years. And guess what? We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
We went into a war that most would argue was one of the most pointless wars that we've ever been a part of. And we've lost thousands and thousands of lives for nothing. Basically, oil. It was over oil, right? So that's just a small example. We can't go into all the details because it'll literally take forever, but that's just a small example. But now you fast forward to what's happening currently.
Yeah, right.
And if you can't see that someone wants us to be at war, I'm just saying this, man. There's two really bad people right now. Like, Putin's not a good guy. He's evil.
No.
He's a dictator.
Right.
Okay, guess what? Zelensky, also an evil guy.
Thank you.
Also a dictator.
Thank you.
Do you know what he just did?
He's the fact that we have made this man out to be some hero. For the last however many years, Ukraine has been a tyrannical force that has murdered its own people.
Not only that, dude, there's literal financial ties to the president of the United States,
absolutely,
and his family, and other politicians that we won't name right now, who have had ties to Ukraine for years. Years.
Right.
And so you have, dude, all I'm going to say is this. you have two dictators now, right? Well, why do I say Zelensky's a dictator? Well, for one, in the last couple days, in case you missed it, he decided to sign a decree. I don't know if you know the definition of a decree, but he signed a decree that all news stations would be combined into one because they want to call it, he's calling it the Unified Information something like that, right?
Of course, unified
information.
They're going to make it say,
in other words, he's going to control everything that's coming to the people and from the people, right? That's one thing, right? But there's so many other reasons why this guy is not a good guy. But I'm not also saying that Putin's a good guy. They're both really bad guys.
Yes.
And they're both doing really bad things.
Yes. And here, the truth is, dude, I'm so glad you're talking about this because we need to talk. We need to hear this. Every one of you who've got this Ukrainian flag up, I hope you mean that in a fact of you stand with the people. No, I want to make this. You better mean that you stand with the people, not the government of Ukraine, because I want to get this right off the bat. The Ukrainian government is corrupt. The Ukrainian government is full of tyrannical motherfuckers who have absolutely oppressed their people. There's no question about it. You know who's innocent in this is the people. The people of Russia and the people of Ukraine.
That's right.
You know who's not innocent in it? Both governments and our government included.
That's right. And here's the thing too is all I'm going to say is this. Like I said, I don't believe there's necessarily one side to this, but when you have the Bidens, the Obamas, the Clintons, freaking Abramovich, if you don't know who that is, look it up. George Soros, big tech, most of these major companies that have profited off of the pandemic more than anybody else. When you have all of them colluding and coming together on the same issue and only pushing the same narrative, I'm going to question it every single time.
You should.
Because while George Soros is okay with funding actual domestic terrorism in our country for months, all of a sudden now he's got a soft spot for this random country that not supposedly, but has financial and like corrupt ties to our government. It's just like people that can't see this at this point. I'm blown away. I talk to Andy on a regular basis about this. It's just like, how do you not?
Andy being Andy Frisella, right?
Yeah, but it's like, how do you not see this, dude? Like, how do people still? And it's because they don't want to. It's because they don't want to, and it's so much easier to believe that none of this is actually real. But all I'll say is this. I want every single person that's listening to this that might be flying a Ukrainian flag right now, I want you to consider how fast you went from thinking that COVID was the most important thing to talk about, how you went from talking about COVID 24/7 to all of a sudden overnight flying a flag that you literally know nothing about that country. And now you're flying it on your house. Or you're posting it on your social media. Why? Think about why. I just want you to ask yourself, why are you doing that? And then I want you to say, could it have something to do with the fact that it's literally being pushed out everywhere you go, everywhere you read, everything you read, everything you see? All of a sudden now it's all about Ukraine. It's blue and yellow, blue and yellow, blue and yellow, blue and yellow. It's like, dude, what about the other countries? What about the 12 countries that we, by the way, the United States of America have bombed and invaded for the last 10 years? Because go look that up. That'll make you cry. That'll make you sick to your stomach. If you're gonna fly the Ukrainian flag, maybe you should start flying the other flags too. This is what I call overnight selective activism. And it's garbage. It literally, it's like all of a sudden now I care so much. The same people that were saying we should jail the unvaccinated are now saying, oh, we can't let these people be murdered and persecuted in Ukraine. And get it right. I'm not saying they should be. I agree with you, Jeremiah, where you said, I don't stand with either government. I don't stand with either dictator. I stand with the people that are being affected by it. But guess what? Guys, that's been happening for decades. You just aren't aware of it. But if you dive in and you start actually paying attention to what our government has done for decades, you might have a slight, I still don't even know everything, but you might have an idea of what's really happening right now. And I promise you, it has nothing to do with Ukraine and Russia.
Well, dude, you know what like, honestly, I mean, my blood was boiling when I saw this. When Ukraine gave back the people their right to bear arms just because they're being invaded to Russia. When I saw that, I was so pissed because we know they're a tyrannical government. They suppress their people. And if that doesn't show you right there, oh, we're being invaded by Russia. We fucked up. Now defend yourselves. Here's some guns. Oh, good. So you finally give people the guns when they never have time to train with it. They literally don't have enough guns for everybody, so they're using sticks and cut out cardboards to do some training with them so you can learn. And when I saw this, I saw the pictures of the people, like this grandma holding an AK-47, and like they're just rushing. They're rushing to help their people defend themselves because they can't defend them. But that's the thing is I posted this. I said, the people of Ukraine, don't give them back. Don't you dare give them back. Don't you dare give up that right ever again. That is your right to defend yourselves. It's not your government's right. It's your right. That is a God-given right. No country has a right to take that away. And if that doesn't show you right there how corrupt that place is, then this should just blow it up right now. Look how corrupt it is and how the people suffer because of the decisions of a select few.
Well, and isn't it interesting that our country now is supporting these people getting firearms?
Yeah, wow.
And yet the majority of those politicians that are now supporting that are the ones that are constantly fighting for us to have ours taken away.
Right.
It's just like, dude, common sense has gone out the window. Yeah. I think I told you this last time, I write my boy in a journal as much as I can, not like every day or anything, but I write him as much as I can so that one day he'll be able to crack it open and read about events, and also I give him as much wisdom as I can, and just kind of like, it's like my letter to my boy, but also like me keeping a journal for him, right? And it blows my mind every time I crack that thing open to write in it, because I'm just like, I can't believe I'm writing what I'm writing.
Yep.
I can't believe that people are so easily manipulated, and that we've gotten to a point where you have things like that happening where it's complete hypocrisy and obvious hypocrisy. Right. And people are unwilling to call it out just because of identity politics, just because of where they stand and what side of the aisle they stand on.
Yes, right.
And that is 100% manufactured from both sides, by the way.
Right.
From both sides, which is why what I'm doing, I think, is so important, where it's like, you need to remind people that there shouldn't be sides. There can be sides. There's nothing wrong with having two parties. This country was formed on two parties.
It's important to have discussions, yes.
To see the two sides of the aisle, for sure. Yeah. But when it gets to the point where you literally support everything just because it comes from your side, and you're not willing to look at the other side, and you're not willing to actually like do some research or think about anything, it's just like, dude, you're literally a mind-controlled zombie.
Yes.
And they own every single piece of your brain.
Yep.
And it's crazy to see, but we've seen that through the last 2+ years. And I can't tell you how many people, when I first started talking about this, literally thought I was an absolute nutcase. And they're like, oh, Ian's lost it, blah, 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 blah. And now all of a sudden they've come back. I can't tell you how many of those people have actually followed me back again and are in my DMs about, dude, I can't even believe what's happening right now.
Right.
It's like we went from 15 days to slow the spread to, boof, war with Russia.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, I've been trying to tell you what's going on.
Right.
Right. And that, again, that all comes from just understanding what's really happening behind the scenes. And you guys need to get it. Our government doesn't care about us.
No.
They do not care about us.
Right.
And once people have all the money and all the power in the world, there's one thing left to level them up. And trust me when I tell you, the people that have all the money and the power in the world, they want to level up. They're not about dropping down a rung on the ladder, right? All of you that are listening, you know that progress works that way. Once you progress, you're not going back. That's how these people are too. Once you have the money and power, control is the only thing that's left. That's it.
Right.
And then, by the way, and this will get into a whole other thing we don't have to do today, but control, guess what control leads to for that next rung in the ladder? Creation.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about what's going on with
No, I do.
World Forum and all that kind of stuff.
Actually, that's exactly what I want to talk to you about, because here's what, to sum up what we've already talked about.
Yeah.
The truth is, I've seen a lot of people on the left start to fizzle away because, like, I don't recognize this democratic, left ways of ideas. I don't recognize it anymore.
No.
Right? They're moving so far away. You see Bill Mayer, whatever his name is, or Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's left, right? He's fucking left.
I could not believe it when they started calling Joe Rogan a right-wing conspiracy theorist. I'm like, bro, do you even know? He loves Bernie Sanders.
Yes, he said he was promoting Bernie Sanders on his podcast.
Him, dude.
Joe Rogan's left, but the difference is he at least has the sense to think, right?
He's
think for
very
himself.
Unbiased.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is people from the left say, I don't recognize that anymore. We're also seeing people on the right pull away, say, I don't recognize you anymore. What we need to unify under is what they want it to make it seem like being a patriot, believing in your country is a right-wing thing. So if you do that, then you're on this side. No. The truth is we need to bring together in one thing, whether it's Black Lives Matter movement, whether it's the coronavirus movement, whether it's what's happening in Ukraine. No, you name me anything that we've seen in our entire lifetime. There's one thing that we all agree on is we want freedom.
That's right.
Black Lives Matter wants freedom. They want freedom to live their lives. They do not want to be suppressed. Coronavirus, we want freedom to make our own decisions with the vaccines.
Yep.
We want freedom because we believe in freedom. That's what this country's about. We will always unite under one banner of freedom. And that is what's dangerous to people who want to control. And that's what I want to get into is what we're talking about. We're not talking about just Ukraine, coronavirus, Black Lives Matter. We're not talking about any of these. What we're talking about.
Those are just small pieces of a puzzle.
Exactly. We're talking about freedom. And here's what you're talking about this. And I was thinking this. I'm like, well, you're talking about so many different presidents over time. Talking about Bush and Obama. Like there's no way all these politicians are corrupt unless there's something bigger than even our politicians, even our president. This is why Trump was so hated and why there was such a campaign against him, because he is a politician in a lot of ways who was a lot less controlled. I'm not going to say totally uncontrolled.
He wasn't a politician.
He wasn't a politician. He didn't have a career in politics.
He wasn't a politician.
Exactly.
He was a businessman.
Exactly.
And a celebrity.
Exactly. And he came in with his own ideas, right?
But you look at influencer.
Exactly. And you look at this and you go, there's no way each one of these presidents had all these connections. There is a way when you look at the truth. And this is what they call the deep state or the behind the scenes curtain, because presidents are in or out every 4 to 8 years. Politicians are supposed to be in and out. Right. So what is it that remains? What is it that drives the engine? Well, we're really starting to peel back the curtain, because you want to talk about, hey, CIA, FBI, how about this whole idea of a one world. Remember when we were kids and we were growing up and there used to be this Illuminati, one world order, acting like it was
craziness, right? Yeah.
We're talking about it on global levels to actually say there is a one world order. There is a new world order that's being in place.
Yep.
And we talk about the World Economic Forum. I personally believe the World Economic Forum is just one piece of the big pie. I don't think it is the pie. I think it's one piece of the big pie, but I definitely think it's really pulled back a curtain on a lot of things.
No, for sure. And dude, to go back, like, even in the beginning where you're saying, why do people like to listen to you? Why do they like to follow you? Again, I think it's because I have a lot of the same. I'm not comparing myself to him at all. He's obviously insane, but like, there's a lot of similarities between the way that I speak, the way that I interview, the way that I create content that like Joe Rogan does, right? It's very middle of the line. Like, obviously I'm more right leaning, but I try to see both sides and I try to be as unbiased as I can. But dude, looking at this stuff, like, that's what people don't understand, is that there's such a bigger play than this. It's so much bigger than just the coronavirus.
Yes.
It's so much bigger than whether or not you or your grandma or your brother or your sister or your best friend want to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Those are just such small pieces of this entire puzzle. And what it really comes down to is, and again, I just said this, but this is the truth, whether you want to believe it or not. If you're religious, then this is the truth. The history of the freaking Bible. And there have always been societies that have wanted control over the people.
Right.
Always. And there's always been evil. And there's always been human sacrifice. And there's always been all these crazy things, right? Like, I don't know why it is that... I do know. I think the reason why it's so hard for people to believe that stuff exists today, like literally, like human sacrifices, for example, right? People are like, there's no way that exists today.
Yes,
okay.
It does.
Yeah, it for sure does. Why is it so hard for people to believe that? Well, because in the past, the people that were doing human sacrifices were like adorned in gold, and they were wearing this crazy, scary makeup, and they had like this and that. And not saying they don't today, but the majority of the people that are probably involved in this kind of stuff nowadays, they're wearing suits and ties and they look like regular people. They look like business people. Right? You talk about human trafficking, right? I'm no expert on it at all. But I know you've had experts on this. I would be willing to, I know, I listen to them quite often. One thing they're constantly talking about is the people that are abusing children, that are trafficking children and people in general, they aren't weird looking.
No.
They're normal people.
A lot of times they're high-end, they're CEOs, they're politicians, or
they have a family of 8.
Exactly.
And they look like a normal American family.
They're the highest, lowest, middle, all this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why they fly under the radar, is that the sheep is in wolf's clothing. The wolf is in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
But people need to understand that just like the human trafficking issue is so much bigger than anybody understands or wants to understand, which is why I think it's such a big battle. There is a bigger play worldwide right now to control people.
Yep.
And again, I don't think we can go into all this because it's just such a bigger issue, but you look at like the World Economic Forum, you look at people like Klaus Schwab. He just wrote a book literally called COVID-19, The Great Reset.
Yep.
Okay, that was a conspiracy theory years ago.
Yeah.
People would say that's crazy, right? That book is there. You can literally go find it. You can go buy that book.
Right.
And if you go listen to any of the conversations that he's had with his people, with the World Economic Forum, they are literally talking about programming and controlling the every move and every action and every belief of humans.
Yes.
They're talking about taking the power of God into their own hands.
Yeah, not some God up above the clouds.
No.
But the real intelligent beings.
They're talking about literally recreating God's power.
Yeah.
And taking away the one thing that is, by the way, we talk about freedom all the time. Okay, whether you're religious or not, the number one thing that is so important to humanity in general is agency. It's the ability to choose. It's the ability to make decisions.
Right.
That's called freedom. Okay? From a religious standpoint, free agency is the number one thing that is so important to God.
Right.
It's the one thing that makes his plan possible.
Right.
We come to earth, we make choices, we have the freedom to make those choices. They have consequences or not, right? Or they always have consequences, good or bad, and we progress.
Yeah.
Humanity cannot progress if we don't have free will.
Right.
And that goes directly against the universe and against God's plan.
Oh, that's literally, if you believe in Christianity, that is Lucifer's plan.
Literally.
Is to control. That is literally the difference
the
between believing in Jesus
evil.
Christ
It's
and the
evil versus
devil
good.
is control.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, you can't even draw it up any more clear than that. At all.
And so you were talking about something, you made an interesting conversation, or an interesting comment I want to go back to. You're talking about Bill Maher. You're talking about how he was speaking up and he basically said, look, I'm not a right wing or this is just craziness. Like this kind of stuff that I'm seeing right now, it's just stuff that I've never believed in personally.
Right.
What's happening is, this is called it's the analogy of the Overton window. It's the idea that what society accepts as truth and as like good, it's constantly moving with the decisions that society is making, right? Yeah. So as you have the left become even more far left, and with all this crazy ideology that goes against human nature, right? Like, all of a sudden now a man can compete with women and take away their ability to compete and still be attracted to women and still have a dick, but also share the locker room with those same women. Yeah. It's just stuff like that like guys like Bill Maher are like, dude, that's just something I've never believed that.
By the way, actually, I just want to say this. To those girls who have worked their entire lives, trained their entire lives, hours on end, for that moment, for that day, you are champions. I want to make this right here, right now. Every girl on that platform, that stage, who has worked her entire life, just through blood, sweat, and tears to be there, the sacrifice to be a champion like that, you are a champion, and we, the people, support you as a champion because we believe in equality. We do believe in equality.
We do.
We believe in freedom.
Absolutely.
And guess what? What's important is that you are able to compete in your own right, that you are able to be the best in your own right, and you are a champion in my eyes.
And dude, they know that too. I mean, you look at the pictures of the platform, and there's that one picture where Leah's standing by himself, and then you have the three runner-ups standing right next to each other. It's like, that's what I'm talking about though. Right. What's happened is this Overton window has shifted so far that all of a sudden now people who used to see themselves farther left are actually starting to drift to the right. Yeah. Not because they necessarily agree with right-wing ideology, but just because they don't agree with far left-wing ideology. Right. That's how it works, right? Yeah. But what I believe, this is truly what I believe. I believe that, like I said before, we are actually in a battle versus good and evil. Evil is the people, the individuals, which, by the way, I don't even think we know who the actual evil ones are that are pulling the strings. I don't think we ever will. I think they will always remain in the shadows. Right, always. Yeah. You have a Klaus Schwab that I think is probably getting closer to the top, but even then, that's not even.
I mean, we look at Bill and Melinda Gates, like they're part of this.
Pawns.
They're for sure.
But they're all pawns. That's the thing. And so what I'm getting at is that evil, okay, there's no morality. There's no there's no good whatsoever in that entity. None.
Right.
And you don't negotiate with that. There's nothing you can do. Nothing will ever change that. Nothing will ever flip it. It's evil, period. But then you have the good, okay? And in the good, guess what? There's white, there's black, there's blue, there's green, there's gay, there's straight, there's Christian, there's atheist, there's freaking every single type of person that walks this planet is in that good. What's starting to happen and what I believe needs to happen in order to ever defeat the evil and in order to actually unite us is that good needs to become aware of the evil.
Yeah.
Okay? So people like Bill Maher, I think they're starting to become aware of what is actually evil. And I think a lot of people are starting to become aware of the evil. Because guess what? As soon as those people, regardless of where they stand politically, race, religion, whatever, as soon as they understand that there's evil and what evil's agenda actually is, all of a sudden now it doesn't matter what side they stand on.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now we are one group and we are one entity of good.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That's what it means when they say united we stand, divided we fall.
Yeah.
That's truly what I believe.
Right.
And I genuinely believe that one of the biggest things that can connect the good or allow the good to become aware is patriotism. Is the not only the understanding of a country and the understanding of its history, but also the love for it and the desire to want us to be free from all of the tyranny and things that could affect us if we don't fight for it.
Yes. There's only one thing, and I truly believe this, there's only one thing standing in the way of a total world government, right? And that's America. And they know that. Why do you think they're fighting so hard to fight against America? Because everything America stands for
it is the last free country.
This is the last stand, right? This is the last stand. Once America falls, there is no coming back from that, right? Nope. There's no coming back from it. America's the last stand. And what America stands for is everything against what they want, right? They want total control because they want, and they'll pitch it like this, and they already are, of it's for your own security. It's for your safety. If we can control these things, then we won't ever have to worry about wars.
And it's for others' safety.
Exactly. It's for others' safety because we don't trust you guys. Exactly. Think about them. Be a caring and kind person.
Yep.
Fuck you, right? Because what we believe is we believe in freedom. That word freedom sends a chill down every human being's spine because of how we're made, because of the souls that God gave us, because we're built as beings with free agency, and freedom is how we become, right?
That's right.
Freedom is the purpose of life as a human being. We believe in freedom. And the truth is, patriotism, what you're talking about, patriotism, isn't patriotism to our government.
No.
It's patriotism to the flag, to the United States.
It's patriotism to freedom.
It's patriotism to what we believe in as a country, as a people. And as Americans, we are gay. We're, lesbians. We're a bunch of black people. We're a bunch of, people from all over the world. That's truth. Americans are from all over the world. It's people who unite under one banner, and that banner is freedom for all.
And remember when you said at the beginning that this is an international thing that we've created, right? Okay, the reason why is because patriotism is not an American thing. It's like you said, it's patriotism is not loyalty and love and the willingness to defend just America.
Right.
It's everywhere. It's the willingness to defend freedom no matter where you are, no matter what country you're in. Patriotism, that's what patriotism is, okay? But I want to say something else too when you're talking about freedom and fear, right? I believe that fear is the greatest enemy of freedom. Not only that, I actually think it's the one thing that can combat freedom with the most power.
It's what makes freedom scary.
Which is exactly why they are using fear. Fear is being used to control people, to manipulate them, right? Why? Because fear is the one thing that can defeat freedom.
Yep.
And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing people giving into fear and giving up their freedom.
Yep.
When you give into fear, you give up your freedom.
Yep.
And I think that's what we're seeing more than ever right now. And that's why it's so important to to not only understand what's going on, like guys, I cannot emphasize this enough. There's a reason why I do these highlights on my page. It's so that you can understand what's really going on in the history of our government and the history of our world in general, because it is not what you think. It is not all sunshine and rainbows, and people do not care about you.
Yeah.
It is you versus the world. It is you taking care of your family and your friends and your community. And it is us, it is we the people, not the government.
Amen.
Not any government.
Yes.
Amen. And there's no way that we make it out of this if more of us don't rely on us, we the people, and stop relying on the government.
Yes.
Government reliance is what creates compliance.
Yes.
Bottom line, why do you think they've been giving everybody money?
Yeah.
Why do you dude, it's
Why
so
do you think they want to start giving us more money?
dude, it's so apparent for those that know what's going on. And that's why it's so important that people become aware of this, and why the ones that are speaking up about this constantly and putting everything on the line, why those people are so important right now and why they're so valuable. And I truly believe that they're going to be, if we have history books in the freaking future, like people are going to look back at these people and say, damn, like they were on the front lines, metaphorically, whatever. Like, and I genuinely believe that, but it's so important to not only be educated, but also to stand up right now. Like, stop complying with things that you know the difference, right? You know deep down if it feels right or if it feels wrong. Stop allowing these people to manipulate the way you think, feel, and act, and start taking control of your own life. And that starts right now. Yeah. And it starts with everything, financial, emotional, spiritual. Like, this is stuff you talk about all the time. And it's so, so important. Put yourself in a place where you are ungovernable.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, and actually bringing up this point, because ungovernable is so important. Like, number one thing is the people you need to unite. They need to recognize who holds the power. Yeah. The politicians, Joe Biden, you work for us, motherfucker. We pay your bills. We fire your ass. We, the people, hold the power,
that's
right?
The idea.
That's the idea, and that's how it has to stay. And you know how it's going to stay that way is when we unite, we have our own communities, and our community as a people, as a banner that we can unite under. When that's strong, they're weak, right?
That's right.
They want to divide us. So why do you think they want to divide us? So we don't have these conversations, so we don't come together and say, I support you, even though I disagree with you. I support you because we at least agree on one thing. We want freedom. Yep. That is what it's all about. So, I mean, and I believe this, when I talk about alpha and the business of alpha, I want to help people become great so they can make that difference, right? So that they can become the person who's ungovernable, who actually carries that kind of influence for good in what you believe in, right? You know what? I want to own a jet. You know why? Because if there's ever a mandate again, I do not have to comply, and my family will never have to comply.
And Ian won't have to comply.
Ian won't have to, because he flies on our jet. Because that's the kind of level that I have to get to. I believe more and more people need to get that point. And that's why I love what you're creating with the community of Patriot, because Patriot's not left or right. It's just fucking believing in patriotism and freedom.
That's right.
And it's a massive growing brand. I mean, at this point, people in Canada are wearing Patriot gear. That's right. Yeah. People here in America wearing Patriot gear. All over the world, people are wearing Patriot gear. And what is it? Patriot gear. Patriot gear is just a community. Like, honestly, it's a shirt.
It's a shirt.
I mean, it's not like a Louis Vuitton shirt. No. Let's be honest. It's a shirt.
It's not.
And is it really that comfortable? Yeah, it is. You know, but it's awesome. What does it mean?
Right. That's
what's more important.
That's the reason why people are wearing it. I want to go back to something too, though. I want to talk about your brand for a little bit.
Yeah.
Can I toot that horn a little bit? No, for real though. Like, so you talk about alpha, right?
Right.
I think it's hilarious that there's so much. There's so many people that talk down about the idea of being an alpha. Right. There's so much like negativity towards, the whole idea of like toxic masculinity and stuff like that. What's really interesting to me is those people I don't think have ever stopped to consider, let's talk about just like the Holocaust, for example, right? Who do you think it was that they took out first? Before anyone else, who do you think it was that they targeted, like on an information level, on an emotional level, and then on a physical level? It's going to be the people that are going to be standing in line getting ready to get on a train car, and are going to think to themselves, you know what? F this, and they're going to jump out of line and try their hardest to take down one of those soldiers and unarm them, so that they can take out as many of those bastards as they possibly can, and save as many people from getting on that train car as possible. Even if there's no way that they would succeed.
Right.
Even if the odds are completely stacked against them.
Yes.
That's what an alpha is going to do.
Yes.
Not only that, let's just talk about like the information war, right? The people that have the ability to see through this, the people that have the ability and the desire to think and to make decisions for themselves and for their family and for their friends and do the best thing possible for everyone, they're going to be the ones that are constantly looking into things. They're going to be the ones that are constantly raising a voice.
Thinking on their own.
They're going to be the ones that are taking chances and sacrificing.
Yes.
And it's so funny to me because it's just another thing. It's obvious why the narrative right now is attacking that. It's like, duh.
Yeah.
Because how many of those people that don't consider themselves alphas, how many of those people are going to jump out of line?
Yeah.
How many of those people are actually going to do anything to try and you know what I mean? Like those are the people that are chin strapping the masks.
Right.
They're the ones that are just wearing it because they feel like they have to.
Right.
Even though they've already been told that it literally doesn't do a damn thing.
Right.
They're still wearing it just because. Okay? The people that aren't going to do something just because, those are the alphas.
Yeah.
And they're the most dangerous to the people that want control over a people than anyone else.
Exactly.
Because they're actually going to make moves.
Amen.
And they're actually going to try and affect change.
They will fight back.
So that's why I support your brand. That's why I appreciate everything you're doing. And that's why every time I see the hate, I'm just like, I just laugh because I'm like, dude, if those people were put into a situation where they had to be protected, they'd be begging for an alpha.
Right.
They'll be begging for somebody to get out of line and try to take a gun.
Well, that's my message is I was that person.
Yeah.
I was that person who was begging for help. I was that person who's crying and praying to God, praying to the Lord every day for someone to save me.
Yeah.
You know, for someone to help me. And you know what? There's people right now in Ukraine begging for someone to save them.
And they deserve it.
And they deserve it.
They deserve the help.
And they deserve the help. And it's the truth is if I could bring out the alpha in everybody, because what is an alpha? Alpha's a fucking protector. Yep. An alpha's a defender. That's what it is at its core.
A provider.
An alpha's a provider, a protector.
That's right.
When they look to fight back against the wolves, that's a fucking alpha, right? And there are people out there who need our help.
Yeah.
They need your help.
Yep.
They need your help.
And they need more than you just posting on your social media a flag.
A flag. You got to stand up.
And dude, you know what? That's the thing too, is like the I made a post the other day that got people real upset, but I said that I stand with Ukraine was 2022's black square.
You know who agreed with you is Elon Musk.
Oh yeah.
Did you see his tweet?
Totally.
His tweet of like the guy who's like, posts around.
Yeah, because that's exactly what it is, dude.
Right.
The people that are doing that, the people that are posting I stand with Ukraine and all of a sudden just jumping on this overnight selective activism thing.
Right.
It's because they don't actually add real value to the world.
Right.
It has become their virtue. And anytime something becomes someone's virtue, they want to magnify that.
Yeah.
These people are no different. They are the clock in, clock out. I'm going to do what I'm told, do whatever I need to in order to be safe. And I'm just going to live the safe, easy life.
Right.
So when something like this comes along, it's like, oh, I'm doing my part.
Right.
I'm adding value to society by posting about this or talking about this. And it's like, no, you're not.
Right.
You're not doing anything.
Yep.
You're just jumping on the bandwagon of something that's completely manipulated.
Yes.
And that's why you are doing it, because you are manipulated.
You're the one manipulated. Exactly.
Because you won't allow yourself to jump out of the box because you're afraid.
Yes.
And so I truly believe that. And that's why the people that aren't are actually, look at all the people that aren't doing it. Look at all the people that are saying, they're not saying I don't support people. I don't support people that are suffering. They're just questioning the narrative and they're constantly raising a voice to, hey, this isn't really what it looks like and we need to unite and blah, blah, blah. Look at those people now. Who are they? Yeah. They're super successful business people, entrepreneurs, coaches, athletes. They're alphas.
Yeah.
They're people that are actually stepping out of line and trying to take the gun from the freaking SS soldier.
Yes.
And that is what it comes down to. And that's why these people are scared to death of anything that questions their narrative and the ability that they have to manipulate the human mind.
Yes.
You become ungovernable. You get yourself to a place where nobody can manipulate your mental capacity or just manipulate the way you think and the way you act.
Right.
That's where everyone needs to get. And I feel like that's what our job is to help people become more aware so they can.
I agree. Well, with what you're doing, I know, and like, I appreciate you saying that because I believe in your message, right? Obviously, like I don't have this shit on here just cause I actually it's funny because when I got this tattoo, people are like, oh, that's corny. I'm like, you know what? It was at the time when people were burning the flag. Right. And they were making people feel really bad for saluting that flag because that flag meant racism. That flag meant communism.
Again, so why did you get a tattoo?
And so I got it because I want everyone to know I will never, ever be ashamed of this flag.
And you saw through it.
Exactly. Because
Same
I
exact
because
thing.
I
You're
know
not
what it really
manipulated.
No, exactly.
They can't manipulate your
No,
mind.
they can say whatever they want. Like I know what it means.
That's right.
And what it means is actually freedom for you just as much as freedom for me.
Exactly.
I believe
You're
in you.
fighting for them just as much.
Exactly. You know what?
crazy.
Like that's the thing is I believe in freedom. I want you to have freedom just as much as me. That's what this flag means. I don't care where you're from, who you are. You deserve to live a free and proud life for yourself, to have your own destiny be in your own hands.
I have people come at me all the time about the whole freedom thing. They're like, oh, but I didn't see you saying anything when Colin Kaepernick was using his freedom. And I'm like, then you haven't been here very long, because I literally have said multiple times, even though it pains me and it makes me extremely angry to see someone, not only disrespect the flag, but disrespect the lives that have been given to make that flag fly and give us the freedom we have. It's extremely disrespectful. I hate it. I hate it with every fiber of my being. However, it is not my place to tell somebody that they can't use their freedom how they choose to, as long as they're not hurting anybody.
Yes.
That's what makes America America. And so whenever we have that conversation, it's funny because I've had that conversation multiple times with people that are on the absolute opposite aisle of me.
Right.
But it's so interesting, dude, because it always comes back to, oh, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
But again, it's the judging from the outside, it's the not understanding the full picture, and it's the I honestly feel bad for a lot of them. Like it's being manipulated so long and so far, where anything that threatens the narrative that they want you to think is going to be something that you fight against. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing those people fight against the narrative that's going to be their own downfall.
Well, the truth is, I mean, in a way, they're acting as soldiers. And here's what I mean by that. In a way, they're acting as soldiers, just doing as they're told.
For sure.
And there's been some of the
marching orders.
There's been some of the most atrocious and horrific things that have ever been done in the history of this world, all done in the name of, I was just following orders.
The Holocaust.
Yes. The Holocaust, like USSR. And we talk about the Holocaust, and like 6 million killed, with World War II. But actually, well, look at Soviet Union. Yeah. They killed 11 million. Right, look at China.
Look at China right now,
and how they kill, right? And even Mao, like back in the day, like look at any dictatorship that's ever happened.
Hold on, pause. Let's just make a quick point, really quick. What's going on in China right now is it's so funny to me because the same people that you have right now being the overnight selective activists for Ukraine, posting Ukrainian flags, they just got done watching the Olympics in a country that's literally committing genocide.
With the Uyghurs, and a lot of others too.
It's a literal Holocaust.
Yes.
They have actual concentration camps where people are being killed and raped and murdered for... And they're like, yeah, cool, the Olympics. But then right overnight, it's like, no, wait a second, Ukraine. It's like, it's mind-blowing.
Well, I was just in Miami with a lady named Yunmi Park. If you don't know who it is, you better go look her up. You want to talk about an alpha?
Korean defector, right?
Yes. You want to talk about an alpha? Want to talk about who's someone's not afraid to fucking stand up and fight back? She's that. She is the most incredible, powerful, of a woman I've ever met. And she escaped not only the most horrific place you could think of in North Korea, she also escaped what she says just as horrific, China. And the truth is, China right now, if any of you, here's the thing, I think we can all unite on the idea that slavery's bad. And if any of you don't think that, then
any kind of slavery,
you are definitely, our enemy, right? As Americans,
you're evil.
You're evil if you are for slavery, right? So I think we get that all off the page. Like we're all against slavery because we as Americans, as patriots, we believe in freedom, right? We will fight for freedom. I don't care where you are. And the truth is, right now, not only with the Uyghurs, but China is state sponsoring. And I hope to have her on this podcast so she can talk about this. China is literally the first ever since the transatlantic slave trade in, back in our time with, with all that, when there was actually nationally accepted a slave trade. In China, they're literally buying girls from North Korea. Why? Because, some genius 20 plus years ago came up with this great law that you can only have one kid. They want to control you so much they can tell you how many kids they have. So you know what they started doing? They started killing the girls. They were having less girls because they wanted the boy to carry on the name. There are, I think it's calculated 40,000 men to one woman in China right now. If China is afraid that there will not be enough women to carry on the Chinese name, so what are they doing? They're bringing in girls from North Korea as sex slaves. This is state-sponsored sex slavery.
Yep.
If you don't believe me, go look at it.
I believe it.
China is, and I'm saying this, and I know China commands all the social media right now. I don't give a fuck. You want to talk about total tyranny? China is just as big of an enemy, if not a bigger enemy, than any other country in this world. Bigger, just as big as the World Economic Forum. It is total communism. It is total dictatorship. There is evil happening in China that we are all just not talking about. And every single NBA player or not even NBA, every single person out there who just brushes it aside so you can benefit from it, this is your fault. Yep. Because you have a right, you have a duty to stand up for something like that. And if you're just going to brush it aside, let's not talk about the Uyghurs. Let's not talk about the slavery that's literally being sponsored by the, communist regime of China. Let's not talk about that because, there's a lot of money in China. There's a lot of money in it. There's a lot of people who watch basketball or watch whatever.
And it's even the influencers and all the people right now, like I said, that are posting Ukrainian flags. Like, where are you at with China? Where are you at with China?
Right.
Do you have any clue of what's going on in China? Of course you don't, because the mainstream media is not talking about it.
I can't wait to see the Taiwan flags.
Oh, dude.
When China takes Taiwan, I want to see those Taiwan flags.
Yeah.
When Iran is invading other countries, because I believe that's true. There's no doubt in my mind China's going to take Taiwan.
For sure.
They're going to fight for Taiwan.
You want to talk about something that's really scary, and most people just don't even have a clue about this right now, but Saudi Arabia is actually trying to negotiate with China to use the yen for oil and not the US dollar.
Yeah.
And by the way, what was the other country? There's another country that did it too.
Yeah.
I can't think of it right now, but there's another country. Anyway, the point is, right now the U.S. dollar is under attack. I don't think people understand what's going to happen if the U.S. dollar takes a back seat. If the U.S. dollar becomes anything less than the worldwide recognized currency, y'all are in for some serious issues, and you don't even know the half of it.
Right.
And this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, where it's just like, why aren't people speaking about China? Because they're unaware.
Right.
And they're not being programmed to speak about it.
Right.
And that's where we're at, dude. We've gotten to a place where the majority of society only does what they're told, and they are programmed to think and feel and act a certain way.
Yeah.
But you have those people that choose not to, and then they're demonized.
Right.
Why are they demonized? Because, again, it's marching orders.
Yeah.
It's all those people that are being programmed and manipulated. They're getting marching orders that they don't even know about, and they're acting on them.
Yep.
And, it's like you said, it's so funny because all these people over here are actually fighting for those people.
Right.
But it's the useful idiots.
Yeah.
They've literally have coined that phrase. I can't remember who it was, but somebody in the Soviet Union literally said, the useful idiots are the ones that will allow things like communism to be put in place.
Absolutely. Yep.
And
I want to say this to every patriot or entrepreneur out there, everyone who has a platform. I want to say this to you right now. If you're listening to this, do not suppress your voice in fears of what they will do to you. Because even right now, as we're talking about this right now, I straight up have it sitting in the back of my mind, and this is just show you how fearful that this shit is. I have this sitting in the back of my mind that this podcast will probably be taken down.
Oh,
Trump's podcast taken down. How many? The second you speak,
it's become kind of like a badge of honor. The podcast I did with Andy Frisilla was like one of the most shadow banned episodes that he's ever had, and I was like, all right. I'll take that as that's a badge.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And here's the thing: people have run they've tied their business so much to social media that they're so afraid of speaking out that'll hurt their business. You know what? The fact that you have that thought is the very reason you should speak out. The fact that you are acting out in any manner of fear against what someone else will do to you is the exact same thing you should lean into, because that is a form of suppression, and that is pushing back on your right to speak, and that is where you have to. It's not just that you should, you have to push back.
You want to know I'll tell you one of the defining moments in this whole journey for me, I guess, of the speaking up and basically using my platform the way I have was I mentioned earlier that I write my boy in a journal. I'll never forget this day, dude. I was writing him about the pandemic. I was writing him about the stuff that was happening and just the inconsistencies and just the absolute ridiculousness of all of it, right? And I actually, there was one point where I was writing and I was about to write COVID, And I kid you not, dude, I actually censored myself. No, I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
I wrote C, 0, V, exclamation point, D.
Yeah.
And I just stopped for a minute and I was like, I threw my pen down and I was like,
Yeah.
wait.
You thought, yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm writing in a book.
Yeah.
There's no one that can see me or hear me
Right.
at all right now. And I just personally censored myself with a pen.
Yeah.
Because of how much I've had to do that on social media.
Yeah.
That is an extremely scary thought. And it was right then and there, bro, that I promised myself, like, that's it. I'm not going to stop.
Right.
Because if I have that thought, that means, like, if I'm having that thought, who else is having that
Right.
thought? And how do you pronounce her name again?
Yunmi.
Yunmi. I always thought it was Yunmi.
Yunmi.
So Yunmi Park, actually, I listened to her episode with, I think it was Jordan Peterson.
Yep.
She said, you want to know something, I think, correct me if I'm wrong.
She's been on Jordan Peterson, yeah.
I'm pretty sure she said something like, the difference between North Korea and North Koreans and Americans right now, one of the biggest differences is North Koreans know that their media is propaganda.
Yeah.
They know that all of the mainstream media is propaganda. Americans don't. And I was like,
yeah,
that's powerful.
Scary.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
But that's how it works.
Well, dude, like wait till we have a social credit score. Because they say if you want to see the future.
No, that's conspiracy theory, dude. It's not happening.
Yeah. They say if you want to see the future, go look at Japan and China, especially in regards to technology, right? In China, there is a social credit score. And they've already actually discussed this publicly. Our leaders have discussed this. So if you think it's conspiracy, go look at how it's been proposed already. In Canada, in a lot of places, social credit scores, because if you're not a good little boy or girl who does what we tell you to do, we're going to ding your score. And by dinging your social score, they actually in China will publicly shame you, put your face up and wherever you go, that people know you're not a good citizen. Also, they'll tell you it makes everything you buy more expensive. Your bus tickets are more expensive. Your food is more expensive. Life gets a lot harder because your credit score is not good.
You're not compliant.
But if you comply and you do what they say, then you have a good credit score and your life becomes easier. Things are cheaper. You get discounts. You get better seating. You get a lot of benefits in the world that has now become controlled based on the score. So if you think you're suppressed now and if you think you're worried about what you say now, do this experiment. Start talking about a product and see the ad pop up on TikTok. Start talking about something and see the ad pop on Instagram. They're listening to us right now and they collect the data. They know what you're saying. It's so incredible that I actually just went through the airport and they didn't even check my passport. They just had me stand there, look at the camera, and his facial recognition. The guy didn't even ask for my ID. He said, "Welcome, Jeremiah." I actually asked him, I go, "Wait, how'd you know?" He goes, "Oh, facial recognition." And he was like bragging about it because how dope it is. And technology go, holy fuck. And they're like, well, the truth is we've had this for so long. And I'm not trying to get conspiracy. I am actually, because this is the truth.
It's not a conspiracy theory.
It's not. If you think you're scared to talk out now, wait until we keep silent and let this keep happening till the day where your social credit score goes down by having this conversation. You and me are going to have very, very bad scores. I can tell you right now,
That's why I'm happy you're buying a plane.
We're going to have very bad scores.
No, just imagine this for a second though, right? Just imagine this. Where let's come back and listen to this a couple of years from now. Because you know what? 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever, if you would have said, hey, someone's eventually going to have to show a piece of paper that says that they've gotten a certain amount of shots in their body for them to eat wings at Applebee's.
Right.
You literally would have looked at that person and been like, you are insane.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Right.
Go back to your freaking hut in the middle of Montana with your tinfoil hat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally what they would have said, right? Well, guess what? Here it is. Okay. I guarantee you, just imagine this for a second. Imagine that you wake up tomorrow and you get a notification that pops up on your cell phone that says, sorry, your car, because they're trying to push for all electric cars. I wonder why. Your car has been disabled for the next 48 hours.
Which is happening right now. And in places that their cars are being shut down.
And by the way, you now only have power for 6 hours a day due to the post that you posted on December 13th, 2003, blah, 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 blah.
And here's what they'll do. They'll say, if you think this is wrong, please submit your appeal here.
Yeah, please submit your appeal and we'll get back to you in 48 hours after your car's turned back on.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this is the kind of stuff that I don't understand why people can't believe is possible. And this is what you're talking about where it's like, we're fighting for everyone.
Yes.
We are raising a voice about this stuff, not just because we don't want to deal with it, but because we don't want you to deal with it.
And I don't want my kids to deal with it.
And yeah, that's the biggest thing.
No, it's not just it's for you guys,
by
but
far
it's for
the
my
biggest
kids
driver.
more than anything. Yeah.
But it's just like, if you guys can't see that that's a possibility now, then you can't see anything.
The truth is, there are people who think that it will be a good thing.
That's true.
There are people who think that will be a
useful
good
idiots.
thing. Yes, exactly. The useful idiots who will actually push back, and they will become more offended. They yell and they scream, right?
Yep.
They cause a fit when you disagree with them, but they think it'll be a good thing. You know why? Because now I'm safe. I want you guys to understand something. Everything that will be pushed to you from governments and tyrants and dictators will always be pushed to you in the name of safety and security. Safety and security, in a lot of ways, is the enemy of freedom. Freedom comes with responsibility. Freedom comes with your protection is on your shoulders and yours alone. And so a tyrannical leader will come with the face of love and equality, and they'll come with the face of, I want to protect you.
Best for you.
This is what's best for you.
Yep.
I know what's better for you. And if you don't believe us, go watch these videos on the World Economic Forum and how they talk about the control and how that will keep our world more safe and create a utopia.
Go look at the Bloomberg article that just came up. Do you ever put stuff up on your podcast?
We can.
You pop up the Bloomberg article that literally says ways to deal with the rising gas prices and inflation or whatever. Literally, the last one is, no one said this would be fun. It's like, get the hell out of here. Like, these people literally don't care.
No.
They do not. Nobody said this would be fun. And it's just, I can't remember who did this video. I keep on referencing all this vague stuff, but there's a video out there that the guy basically said that cancel culture is the dress rehearsal to genocide.
Yes.
And it's like, well, why do you think that? Well, think about a credit score system, right? Mm-hmm. If it gets to a point where people literally are having their faces put up on digital billboards and things like that because they're socially dangerous, what do you think is going to happen with the crazy people who want to weed those socially dangerous people out of society?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you have people that are justifying murder. Mm-hmm. Guess what, guys? That's happened in the past. It just didn't happen with digital billboards.
They publicly shamed the Jews.
Yeah, it happened with posters on
They
poles
had to wear their stars.
and stars.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, that's what's happening right now with certain groups of people. And if you pay close attention, you'll notice that those certain groups of people have one thing in common, and that is they're fighting for freedom. Mm-hmm. The freedom fighters have become the Jews.
Yep.
And we're not far off from, everybody talks about the Holocaust and everybody thinks that they just rolled into these towns with tanks and all of a sudden we're just like, boom. Yeah. No, it was years and years and years of programming and manipulation and propaganda to turn the society against a certain group of people. Like, it wasn't the Nazis that killed all of the Jews, guys. It was the Germans. Mm-hmm. They turned them against each other.
Yeah.
They convinced them that there was one group of people in their society that were dangerous, that were dirty, that were sick, that were like literally nobody.
No. You're exactly right. And there's one more thing I want to add to that. Not only was it the German people, there were a lot of German people who actually hated the Jews and were told this lie that the Jews were the reason for their suffering.
Yeah.
The reason why we're suffering is because the Jews have taken our money. The Jews are evil, yada, yada, yada. So there were Germans who, at the time, who were fed this propaganda and believed it and actually attacked the Jews and supported this. And now, there's another group here. There's another group here that's, I believe, more important to talk about. And it comes from the poem, actually, of first they came for the socialists, and I said nothing because I'm not a socialist. Mm-hmm. Then they came for the nationalists, and I said nothing because I'm not a nationalist. Then they came for the Jews, and I said nothing because I'm not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there's no one left to speak up for me. Mm-hmm. It's the people who saw this happen, who chose to, quote unquote, mind their own business. There was a large group of people who said, I don't know what to do. There's nothing I can do about it.
Useful idiots.
Yeah, useful idiots who decided to do nothing. And they feel that doing nothing kept them out of it. You're wrong. And this is my message to the world. This is what I believe in. This is what my business is about. When I talk about alpha and what it's meant to be, is when you do nothing, you are nothing. You either choose to be great, you either choose to stand, or you will be a part of the problem. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph in this world is for good men to do nothing.
That's right.
That's it.
And by the way, like, let's talk toward, I want to talk to the people who are still listening to this that are doing good, that do want to stand up, that do want to speak out. You know, I think a lot of people are under this impression that there's nothing that you can do, or you don't have enough influence, or like, you know, whatever. You look at people like me or other people on social media and you're like, oh, well, they have thousands and thousands of followers. And it's like, dude, we started the same place you did.
Yep.
We all started at zero.
Yep.
Every single one of us.
Right.
And, you know, I actually talk about this quite often when I'm speaking in events and things. And I think it's really important to talk about. Basically, like, consider that you have, let's just say you're on like the lower end. Let's say you have literally 200 followers on social media. Okay. 200 followers total on Instagram. Let's just use Instagram as an example, because that's my like main platform.
Right.
Okay. On average, you know, how many story views are you going to get? Let's say you're getting 50 people that are watching your story, right? I don't think people stop to consider what that actually means.
Right.
Like, have you ever seen a room with 50 people in it? Mm-hmm. It's actually, if it's a smaller room, like, it's a pretty full, it looks like it's a full room. Either way, though, that's 50 human beings that are intentionally coming to listen to you,
right,
watch you, and learn from you.
Yep.
And even if you affect one of them, even if you influence one of those people,
right,
guess what they're going to do? Naturally,
talk about it.
They're going to talk about it. Yeah. They're going to talk to their family. They're going to talk to their friends, like, whatever. And that's how messages spread. I think everybody is sitting, even the people that know what's going on is wrong. It's like you said, they're good people, but they're sitting back and they're thinking, you know what? I'll just let the other people that have more influence, more power, more whatever, do it for me.
Yep.
Because there's not really anything I can do. Like, if I do it, it's not really going to do it. Right. No, what you don't understand is that the only way that we make it out of this is if everyone, especially the quote unquote little guys, actually start to speak up. Yep. So whether you have 200 followers, 2,000, 20,000, or 200,000 or 2 million, you can make a difference. Those people that are listening to you and watching you, they're not just like digital entities. They are actual human beings who are listening and watching and learning with real intention to you. Yeah. So teach them. Yeah. Speak to them. Influence them. And that's how we can actually make a difference. And, you know, that's why, like, even when I spoke at AlphaCon, that was kind of what my message was like, dude, there's never been a time that is more important right now for people that have the ability to actually create something, to build a tribe, and to create some kind of community that others not only can follow, but they're yearning to become a part of. There's never been a better time in history than right now. Amen. For you to stand up and create that. And it's so much easier than people think it is. Yeah. Because people are begging for it, dude. They're begging for it. Right. You talked about those that are willing to speak up on social media, those that are willing to stand for what they believe in. You know, it's so funny to me because when I started, I literally thought I was burning everything to the ground. I had a pretty decent following, dude. I was like, you know, I was sales and marketing. Like, people knew me. Right. And I was like, everyone's going to, that's it. Like, they're all going to unfollow me. That's it. It actually is the exact opposite. And DC Drano, Rogan O'Hanley, I don't know if you know who he is, but he actually spoke at an event, at the Power Room event. Yeah, right. And he talked about how there's 3 lanes right now with businesses. There's the lanes that are like totally far left, and they only cater to the far left. And then there's businesses that try to stay in the middle. And then there's the third lane that's like all pro America, pro freedom. And he's like, that's a 5-lane highway right now because people are begging for companies and organizations and frankly, people and individuals in general who are going to stand up for freedom. Yep. And if you remember too, anytime I speak, I always start by saying, I want everyone in the room to say freedom. That's what I just want you to say freedom. Guess what happens every single time, dude? They yell. They scream it. Every single one of them scream it from the top of their lungs. And then I stop and I'm always like, well, wait a second. I just said say it. I didn't say scream it. Right. And they're like, oh, but it's like, no, but that was the point, right? Why did I know you were going to scream it? Because it's what everybody is, they know it's under attack right now. Yeah. They're yearning for it. They're begging for it. And anyone that has the talents and abilities and even just the desire to spread that message of freedom right now, I promise you the call has been sent. You're just not answering it. Yeah. And it's not just your like, it's not, you don't just have the ability, it's your obligation right now to answer that call, to build a tribe full of people that can follow this message, that can help us to fight for that freedom and literally like create these communities of people that are about this.
Yeah.
That's how we can win this war. And trust me when I tell you, it's a war.
Yeah.
It's not bombs, missiles, and guns, but it's a war.
Yeah.
You know,
dude, amen. We spit some fire on this one, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, we preach the truth, man. Dude, everyone listening to this, we're cutting it off, but I know you're going to come back on. We're going to have more than one conversation about this stuff, man.
For sure.
Everyone, please go follow this man, Ian Wendt on Instagram. Go follow Official Patriot Gear. If you believe you're a patriot, if you believe in freedom, then this is a community that you need to get behind, because there's never been a more important time than now for you to have the courage to speak up and to make it known that you are willing to fight for what you believe in. Also stay tuned, because I know we're not really going to talk about it a whole lot, but this guy, if you guys don't know how impressive he is when it comes to marketing, sales, and building a brand, building a community, if you see what he's doing and you see that's something that you've always felt you're on like that's something that you want to do, then actually stay tuned, because I know he's got stuff coming in order to help every single one of you, a part of his community, to grow your influence and to expand, because that's what he believes in as well. Is that fair to say? Fair to finish off with?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously my main focus is Official Patriot Gear and building this brand and just growing this community. But I've always been very involved in helping people to, better understand how to create a brand, how to build a brand, how to market themselves, how to really add value to the marketplace. And I don't know everything, but I feel like I know a lot, especially when it comes to like sales and marketing. So, every once in a while on my social media, I'll throw it out there and say, hey, I have an hour or two this week. I'll tell you the times. It's basically just first come, first serve. Hit my inbox and we'll jump on a call for an hour or two. And, I'm confident that I can help you do whatever it is you're trying to do. But don't come to me unless you're serious. It's not about how much is this going to be and what is it going to, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not cheap. Good work ain't cheap and cheap work ain't good. But I promise you that it's worth every single penny. So just hit me up, and if you're serious about it and if you know what you actually want to do in life, then we'll be able to crush it together.
Amen. Yeah. Love it, brother. Yeah. Appreciate you coming on,
Thanks,
man.
Bro.